Okay, so this is the YouTube stream. The reason I said that is because we just did an Instagram stream where I told everyone, come on over to YouTube. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you guys will all come and join and we're going to have a party here. So, you can see here, this is the curve that we're following. Our roast temperature is 229 degrees. And we've got lots of stuff going on over here. And we're testing out a new firmware on OmniFlux that I can't guarantee you is gonna. It may not have. It may not be stable. It may have some bugs. So you'll have to bear with me on that. That's what we're here to test. So, with that said, let me go over to our roast curves here, and I'm going to change it to live. And we are going to do our first roast. Let me switch over to here so I can at least see what's going on. This goes on top. Okay, so let me pop this out of here. See how you can see that? Dump that back in. That's part of our batch. On OmniFlux, we're going to go to Measure and Roast Track. And then we're going to dump our beans in. And ideally, I believe this will start automatically, but like I said, oh wait, before we do that, let's connect, we're going to go to Settings, oops, Device Settings, Connections, Airwave Connect to Airwave here. Okay, now we're connected to Airwave, which means we can put it on Auto, which means like this, it will just, I can turn it on, and it's only going to heat it when it necessarily needs it for the smoke that's coming through. So, OmniFlux controlling Airwave, they work quite well together. Okay, so now, ready? Roast. Auto start. There we go. So, OmniFlux is figuring out what it is seeing right now. So it started out super low because it was like, oh, there's so many different colors going on. But now that it's stabilized because all the beans are in and it can see properly, you can see it went right up to 128 where it's the color of the coffee that's in there. So now it's going to stabilize and probably stay around about 128 for quite a long time. Until we get to the point where our roast is actually changing color, because during the drying phase it generally stays about the same color. Let me see why we're not seeing any roast curves on here. It may be OBS may be drying from the rough. Oh, no, we're good. Wait, what? Why did it only update when I finally... Does it only update if I'm looking at the page? Super weird. No, it's updating. Okay, we're good. Okay. Do I need anything else while we wait here? We're going to 229 degrees. This is actually the roast level that we're looking for. This is like a medium dark. I just tested it at 49.3 agtron. This is our final color. Now, here's something to note. OmniFlux has the option here to have a color target. The issue that we are trying to figure out the best way to overcome, and if anyone has any suggestions, we would love to hear them. The issue is that when you drop coffee, it's hot. And so even though what it's seeing right there through the window, it's like it's at that color, by the time it finishes cooling down, it's going to be at a different color because it's still hot when it drops. And so the color doesn't just instantly stop. It keeps changing until the beans get past a certain coolness to where they freeze in place. So the color that you're at when you drop is going to be a few points higher than the color you're at when you finally reach cool. Which can be confusing for people because they're expecting that was the color I dropped it at, and then when I measured the final color, it was not that color. So we need to make it very clear to the user what's happening, why it's going to be slightly different, why it's going to be a few points lower, and how to appropriately reach the target you're actually looking for. So I'm going to snag this from here, and I'm going to come over here and dump this coffee into here. This coffee, I'm sending it to a bunch of relatives to see which roast level each of them likes best. I'm curious to see if there's like a consensus with this coffee, what the ideal roast color is, or if everyone likes it in a different final color. So, we'll find out. That is delicious. I'm putting it over here behind the live stream, along with my notebook in which I write down all the secret information that I'm not providing to my family. So that I know what roasts they are consuming, and then they can tell me about it. It says sign in to chat down here. I don't need to do that because I am signed in. But let's see what happens if I click here. Well, I'm not going to live stream that. Hold on, let me hide this window so that I can log in here. I don't know why. Why is it not logged in? It should be logged in. Well, that's super annoying. It was already logged in. Why did you log me out is the better question. We've lost our chat. Hold on, let me, how do I, oh, thank you. I just got some free tea. The OBS window just became gargantuan, and, oh, there we go, okay. We figured out one thing. Let me go to, where's chat? Where's chat? Stats, chat. It still says log in, sign into chat. I'm just gonna leave it like that because I don't. Let me make sure on actual YouTube that it shows up properly. So I'm gonna go, hey y'all. Okay, so that shows up. So I'm just gonna leave it at saying sign into chat. Nothing else I can do because it ain't. Wait, no, I want window capture, and then we're gonna do OBS chat. So it's just gonna keep saying sign into chat. Sorry about that. Sign into chat. We're at 6 minutes 41 seconds in that roast. And I am going to send the stream link to a bunch of peeps so we can get some people filled in here. Let's see, I'm going to send it to my buddy. Send it to another buddy. And I'm going to send it to a third buddy. Alright, we got 3 buddies. Hopefully one of them joins the stream. In the meantime, what should we do? I guess it might be time to play around with some Rubik's Cubes because, well, nobody's chatting. If you have any questions or you wanna talk, I'm here for that. But if not, I'm gonna have to do some solving of this Rubik's Cube. So we're gonna have to get this blue stripe here, and then we're gonna have to get these centers down. Oh, I lost that stripe. Sorry about that. Me. Okay, now we got 2 stripes here, and then we just got to get the third one so that we can get this centered. Boom! 1 center. Fully done. And that's how you do it. Okay, now let's move on to the green one. Okay, we got the... Let's move this way. Okay, so we got 1 green stripe. And we got 2 pieces. And then let's put that into place. 2 green stripes. And then, we've got to find that, oh, there it is. And put the last green stripe in place, and now we got the green center. Now we got almost all of this red, so let's do the red center. Oh, look at that. But first I gotta move this out of the way. Zim zam, look at that, got that center. We're at 204, 205 degrees on our coffee that's going. And we've got a couple centers left. Let's see if I can finish all the centers before the coffee's done. It's close, it's close, it's close. Where's the last orange piece? Must be here. Okay, and then we gotta put the orange in place. And then we got the last 2 centers. I think we can do this. Last 2 centers before the coffee's done. And then yellow goes there. Okay, we've got that all cleaned up. Okay. Shazam! We got all the centers done before the coffee was done. Okay, coffee's at 218. I'm starting to see a little bit of smoke coming out over here, so I'm going to actually increase the fan speed to 70%. It's manually handling the temperature of the catalyst, so I don't need to turn on like specific filtration modes. Alright, but I've increased the airflow a little bit, and then what I'm going to do, well, it did not mark the yellow point properly. Well, that's a shame. We're going to have to fix that. But we're at 52 Agtron. 51. I think we're approaching second crack here, and it's going to drop in 1 degree. I'm going to call this second crack. And it dropped. Hopefully I don't set off the fire alarm. And let's get our next batch ready. Alright, that smells delightful. I'm going to start doing some color measurements too, because I need to know the colors so I can mark it. Looks good. tube here. Plop down here. Whoop, drop a bean on the floor. You don't want a bean all over your floor. It's not ideal. Oh, you can't see that. There we go. Goal here is the way the bean sweeper works is it evenly prepares you a consistently preparable sample. So you don't end up with more or less than you should. And it's properly and consistently filled. So dump the excess, close up the coffee bag. And let's drop our next batch in. We're at 186 is the drum temp. Maybe I'll wait a few seconds for that to cool down. Oh, it didn't stop automatically. Well, that's interesting. There's a bug in this firmware too. So we'll have to fix that. Oh, I missed it. I hit the wrong button. End track. So I missed what color we were at when I actually dropped it, which was right about there, because it didn't stop automatically like it normally would. So I didn't see that, and I don't know what color it was at, and so it's now marked at 92, but you know what? We'll just save that for the next time. I'll keep a closer eye on it the next time, but you can still see how the color curve went. It drops a tiny bit, then it went up because the color started turning more yellow, which when you convert it from the raw color, that it's like the raw intensity, it actually gets more intense, and then it starts to drop from there. And then there's a pretty consistent color drop, maybe a little bit of a change right there. Okay, so I'm going to put this in. We're at 181.2 is the drum temp, so that's pretty good. Let's go restart. I'm just going to manually start this one, so we'll go. Okay, we're on our way. We're on our way! So in the meantime, I'm going to test the color of this, and then I'm also going to get some browns, and I'm going to test the ground color as well. So let's start with our, that's the wrong one. Swap these out. Let's start with our whole bean color. Let's see if we got 49.3 again. It should be about the same, but you can see from Omni here, the result here is, maybe I should be standing on the other side, but whatever. Yeah, but you can see the result here is, I'll stand like this. It's not super even. We got like 10, between 10%, 70 to 80, and 16% is darker than 30, and then everything else fits in between 30 and 70. It's quite a large range. Not super even on it. But I imagine the inside will be much more even than the outside. But that was the last one. Let's see about this one. Because, it looks even. What do you guys think? Am I doing something wrong? Does it have something to do with my my roast profile? Or is it just the coffee itself? This is actually the only type of coffee I've ever roasted. So I don't know what to expect from different types of coffee. If you want to fill me in on your advice, I would love that. So this one, 51.3, seems pretty similar, but it seems like a little bit higher of a peak here, 21% than there was last time. So we're about, I'm going to call this a 50 agtron, because that's about the average here. 50 agtron. So we're going to do another batch of 50 Agtron there. First I'm going to dump this into my can. See if I can get that film. Oh yeah. Okay, but I am going to take a little bit of this, maybe a tiny small handful, about this much, and I'm going to grind it so we can get the ground color. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm going to cut in front of OmniFlux here. Ready? Sorry about that. I've ground the coffee. So now we have ground coffee. Nah, nah. I'm going to turn sideways as we do this. So that's our, it's like a medium dark. They call it medium here according to SCA standards, but we're approaching a darker. So let's get this nice and even here. All right, what's our guess? I'm gonna say that this is gonna be maybe like, it's gonna be pretty close. I'm gonna call it 56.5. All right, ready? $60. That's a 60. Medium light. Not quite as dark as I thought it was, but okay, that's fine. I'm going to write that down in my journal here. My secret journal that I'm not going to show you because I don't want it on the screen for my peeps to see that I'm giving the coffee to. Let's call that 60. Okay, that's written down, and we're ready. Okay, so 5 minutes, 25 seconds, so that roast, that's all good there. What do we do while we wait? Why is this not updating? I don't understand. Keep updating. There we go. Now it's updating. So you can see how that roast curve is going along. Our bean temp's at 195.4. Why did this change? I told it to remember the I literally locked the focus and it was like, don't lock the focus? Got it! I don't know. Okay, so while we wait for that, I guess we're back to this. So the next thing we need to do here is we need to get these three edges together, the orange and white. So we're going to put the orange and white down here. We're going to perform our little flipperoo so that we can get the two edges here. And now see how this one's backwards? Let's just leave it for now. That's okay. There's a secret hidden technique. Okay, so we got blue and white. Put those together. We got these two, and now we need to look for the last center blue and white edge, which is there. We need to move it down like this. And then we can just put them together like that. And just like that, we've got another edge, okay? Red and white. Second red and white. Put those together. And then, where's the last red and white? Let's be on the other side. There it is. Let's put that together. We got 3 reds and whites. We'll bring the green down, green and white. Where are the green and whites? Got one here. Line those two up, so we got the 2 green and whites. And then where's the center one? There it is. So we'll bring that down and we'll put them together. Now see how they're reversed? Again, not a problem. Now we got to do green and red, so we do our little technique. Now they're together. Then we got to do... Ooh, blue and orange is almost done. So where's the other blue and orange? 2 blue and oranges. There. Okay. Now we got 3 blue and oranges, and let's move them out of the way. Okay. Now we've got, let's see, green and yellow or green and orange? We'll go find first. Green and yellow. Bring that down. And green and yellow, green and yellow. Green and yellow, green and yellow. Boom, a little technique. We got the 2 green and yellows together. Now we got the 3 green and yellows together. Again, backwards, doesn't matter. Okay, next one, we got the blue and whites. Sorry, I mean the blue and red. Oh wait, I can't do that. Like that. Fix the center. Hold on. Whoa, I screwed up the center. Hold on. Whoa, oh no. Okay, we're good. We got this. Oh, I screwed them up a lot. I wasn't supposed to do that. Oops! That's okay. It's okay. We're solved. We're back where we were. Green and white, green and orange, green and orange. There's 2 greens and oranges. And the last one. Oh, I'm hearing some second crack. Well, we better get ready. 9:35. Oh, and there it is. Stop. And track. 49.2. Okay, 49.2. That was our, that's what it said the final color was. 49.2, which is spot on. This works. This calibration method. 49.2 when it hits the drop point. So now we can go back and look at our color curve and like really start to learn from it. Okay. I'm happy about that. So, 49.2. Let's wait till this cools and then we'll give it an actual test and make sure that the color is in that range. 49.2. Let me dump back here. I'm going to dump that. That back here. I'm going to flip it over and get ready to test. I'm also going to get ready to fill this can so that we can fill it. But that means, oh, we are doing very well with this. That means OmniFlux is spot on. I'm happy. We just gotta wait for this light to go off and let us know that we're cool. Do a little mixing. And it's connected to our airwave, so it's doing the airwave controlling for us, so I don't have to worry about that. This is ideal. Okay, so let's fill this with a little bit of coffee. Okay, it's too much. So let's scrape off some on the top. If you guys happen to show up and you got some questions about any of the D-Fluid devices whatsoever, or anything about coffee in general that I might be able to help with, or if you can help me with, feel free to chime in the chat. Alright, let's see. What's our final color? 47.2! So it's pretty much on the dot exactly what I was expecting, because like I said, the coffee's still hot when it comes out, and it is rapidly dropping in color value. So by the time I end up getting the final test, it's a little bit different than what it was at the moment of dropping. But we're pretty much spot on here. This is pretty good. And you can see there's still quite a bit of variation here, so this may have something to do with my roasting technique. It might have something to do with the actual coffee. That part I haven't figured out yet, but we do know that our OmniFlux is recording spot on. So let's get another batch of coffee going, and then we will move on from there and dump this into the container and keep going. So let's open up our bag of coffee that we are trying to completely finish. I still got too much left, so let's keep it going, keep it going. I think what I'm going to do is no, actually, I think I'm okay. Never mind. I'm not going to do that, so I'm not even going to finish that sentence. I'm not going to change anything. Where's the... oh. I'm blind! Okay. Our drum temp is at 184, which is not too shabby. I spilled a couple beans. Let's throw those in. I'll leave the one on the floor, but I'm going to replace it with this one. Okay, ready? Let's start another recording and start. And we are ready. We're recording. I'm going to put the leftover greens back in the bag so we don't lose them and waste them for no reason. Close up our coffee bag. Okay. And then I'm going to snag this from our roast. And we're going to fill this canister. Now I need to do about 6 of this particular roast. And we are now at 3 and on number 4. So once I get to 6, we're going to change the drop temp and do a really dark roast. In the meantime, I think we are back to... You know what? We might be ready to do some more experiments. So, I'm going to get back to doing my my experiments with the particle poster, where I'm trying to determine, does a different roast level have an impact on the distribution of your particle size? So what I do is, I make sure that there is nothing in this container here, this canister, whatever you want to call it, the thing that collects the beans. I put 2 full beans into the grinder at a specific setting after I've completely cleared it of all other coffee. It's a Kinu N68, so there's pretty much 0 retention in the hand grinder. And I make sure there's no loose particles hanging around as best I can possibly do. And then I've been using the CoffeeOS particle analysis tool, particle analyzer, to determine what the distribution is at different given sizes. So I'm going to grab 2 beans from that last batch that I roasted, and I'm going to grind them at the same grind setting, which is actually 1 full rotation at 6 numbers and 0 clicks. So I've got these 2 beans right here. I'm going to grind them into here, and I'll be right back, okay? Hopefully I don't screw this up when I walk in front of it. Are we ready? Whoop! Sorry, that took too long, because there was a little bit of coffee grounds from that last thing that I ground. I didn't actually get all of it, so I had to make sure that there was nothing coming out. Okay, so I've got this much coffee here. I don't know if you can see that. I actually should have grabbed my phone. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'll be back soon. Okay, so, just so you know from the last time, I don't need to connect to OmniFlux, so I'm not going to do that. Cancel out of there. But if I go back to the particle analyzer, it'll bring up my results from last time. Oh, I'm not logged in? It's logged in. I'm not logged in. Okay, now we're logged in. So, let's go back to our history, samples. We've got particle contests. So these are the 3 that I've done so far. We did a 35 outside Agtron, 42 inside Agtron. And then we did a 79 103. And I just realized I was supposed to do a second test so I have number 1 and number 2 because I wanted to make sure that you could see the results from doing the experiment twice, so that we could see if there's any correlation between the randomness of it or if it's just the different roast colors. So I should do this one again, and I will. But in the meantime, I'm going to create a new sample. We're going to call this one, what was it, 50-60. 50-60. And then number 1. So 50 outside, 60 inside. And that's this coffee here. So, how close are we to dropping here? We're at 198. We got some time. So, let's get ready to do this. So our particle coaster's ready. We need to measure all of these grounds, every single one of them, because we don't want to skew our results and make it seem like there were more large particles and more fine particles. Because what we're doing is spreading them out like this and trying to measure every single particle that comes out of that in the 2 full beads, so that we get a really accurate representation of what actually happens. We can grind coffee. What is the full distribution? So I'm going to swipe to the right, I mean to the left. To get to the camera, the camera's going to open up. I'm going to slide this over here into view so you can see it a little better. And I'm not going to block the lighting, and so 1,119 is our current tests number. I need to get my dump plate. Now remember, that does not indicate the full distribution because I've only gotten some of the particles. So I'm going to dump this out into here. We're going to do that again, and 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 again, until we run out of coffee in this container. So that we have every particle. If you see what I mean, if you catch my drift. Okay? Every time I do this, so that I can make sure that if there's any like extra tiny fines that cling on to the fibers, they'll fling off into the, or onto the coaster. So, we're going to do another test. Average of 654 on that one. Another one. Sometimes if I see a particle that flings off, I will just grab it and put it back on. I'm really trying to get as many articles out of the distribution as I can. I imagine it's inevitable that I'll miss a few. Not that perfect yet, but ideally we'll get there. We're at 228. I can hear exactly right at start of second crack pretty much is where I've been dropping these. Okay. Test. 862 is the average on that one. So our running average now is 878. Okay. So make sure that that cools properly. Oh no, it didn't stop automatically end track. That's really interesting. This new firmware, the calibration works really well, but they must have disabled the automatic tracking of the, unless maybe you have to turn it on manually. If I swipe down from the top, you can see here there's a roaster profile I can select. Auto stage marking, let's see. It's turned on, but it's not doing it. I don't know why. Yeah, that's definitely a bug just because this is a beta test firmware. And that's not obviously actually how it's going to be when you finally use it. So don't think of this as a final production version. We're still working all the kinks out, so that it's ideal and nice to use when you're ready for it. Or I should say, when it's ready for you. Okay. Just about ready for our next batch. Let me just take this photo. 615 is the average on that one, so it's coming down to 812. Usually I end up getting the larger particles first, and then the rest of them bring it down. This one seems to be the opposite. Alright, let's fill up our next batch. Another 160 grams of coffee. Bean sweep these off so that we get a nice even sample. Cool. Dump it in. Our charge temperature right now is at 186 in the drum, but that's okay. And let's get OmniFlux ready with a new batch. Go. Record. I gotta make sure that I'm there to record the drop point. Alright, let me swap the basket out for this one. You can see that coffee. Rather warm. So this was batch number 4, and that's 5 and that's 6, and then we're going to move on to our next roast. Whoop. And by that I mean our next roast color. Alright. Good. Put that over here. Put this back in our bag. Actually, you know what? I'm going to fill up the next batch just so we're immediately ready to go. So I'll do my bean sweeping again. Cool. Ready. Close up the coffee bag. we're ready for some particle analysis. Move that over there. Drink some tea. Cool. Okay, next step. We still got a lot of particles to test, so as far as I'm concerned, the number that we've got so far is not an accurate representation. We'll get there. Not yet. Got to try to spread this out as evenly as possible so that you don't have any grounds touching each other. Otherwise, they'll look like large particles. Remember, it's an algorithm. It needs to be able to edge detect. All right. Forward that. Boom. 1,132 is the average on that one. You can see here, there's a lot more large particles than there were in the other batches. And by batches, I mean the other samples. These are all samples from the same sample. So that probably brought the average up a little bit. Lots of fines here in this one, so I'm gonna. It's really hard to get the chunks of chaff out of there. There we go. Doesn't count in our distribution because it ain't bean. Okay. Let's take that one. Well, I didn't realize that you couldn't see that. Let me move this up a little bit so you can see a little bit better what we're doing when I take a picture here. There we go. That's better. Okay, so that one was 552 average. Lower than the other ones, but not that low. Next one. Chunko copy on there. Start spreading it around. Make sure we get them all separated. Good, 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 good. Okay, getting close here. Good. Okay. Dust off the fines. Pick up this one particle that I dropped. Okay, and we are ready for our next photo. Okay, 939 on that one. It's interesting when I go like this to try to shake it off. That's what sticks. Some of them fall right off, probably the much larger particles. You can see like at what point. Well, that could be a fun experiment. At what point do they start sticking and not just immediately falling off? I should try that later. I will try that later. That's going to be experiment number 2. That'll be fun. Curious to see what the results are. Okay. Next little segment. Spread out the beans. Grounds. I don't know about you guys, but I find doing this really fun. It's kind of, what's the word? Meditative. Being careful not to fling particles everywhere. Drop the largest particle on here. I'm not going to record it because I don't want to exit out of what I'm doing now. But watch this. So that one's 933. Watch this, ready? You can see how much is on here. And then I'm gonna just tilt it. And I'm gonna tap it a few times. That's what's left. tapped it again, that's what's left. Now tapping seems to have no effect. Super interesting. If I tap hard, upside down, that's what's left. All mega fines. Oh, I'm hearing first crack. At 7 minutes, 12 seconds. Next one. Lots of massive particles in that one. That's really going to bring the average way up. I can already tell. Watch over on this end here. There's going to be a lot more over here in the next one. Let's see. How do I get this more on camera? Maybe I should move it more this way. There we go. So just look at that. In that. So this is the total distribution. This is the one that I just did. Look how many. Yeah, you can see that's pulling the average back up a little higher. Okay. Next one. We are at 217. Spread it around. Spread it around. Okay. Here, okay. I'm starting to hear some second crack. Okay, that one 876. Let me put this off so I remember that I've already tested this one. And we'll grab our newly dropped beans. It's not what I needed. I need this. Okay. Stop, end track. Yeah, see, it bounced back up because it's I missed the stop. It should stop automatically, and it will stop automatically. But in the meantime, we've got to deal with this version of the firmware with the bugs. So I'm gonna have to keep stopping automatically, and I keep forgetting. Next time, I'm gonna watch diligently, because we've only got one more batch of this particular. In fact, I'm going to open this up just to cool the drum a little bit, so we get back down to 180, so I can just immediately run the next batch. $189, $188, $187, $186, $185, $184. Okay, that'll probably keep dropping as we heat back up. And then when that stabilizes at 270, I will drop the next batch. In the meantime, let's fill up our. Whoa, that's hot. Let's fill up our can. The bottom of this. This part is hot. The beans are pretty cool already. So let's dump these. And that's filled. And we're good. Alright. Put that back in. Alright. Over here. And we've got one more batch to go. We're just about stabilized here. Dump my beans in. Good. 268, 269, 270. Now it's going to have to drop back down. 271. And the math involved in figuring out how much power to use in order to heat to the right temperature at the right time and everything, it's got to be so difficult to write. Engineers at ROEST must be geniuses. All right, are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Well, wait, we're not ready yet. Go. All right, we are ready to go. All right, that's our last batch of this one, and let's finish doing our our particle analysis here for our Copy OS challenge. Still got quite a bit of beans in it, and grounds in there. I'm amazed every time. I keep thinking, how is it that we each time how is it that we have so much coffee grounds, so much coffee grounds? That sounds like the wrong English, but that's, I guess, correct. So much coffee grounds is, I guess if we're counting them, I'd have to say how so many coffee grounds, but I'm not counting them. That's an awkward English thing. But so yeah, I'm wondering how two beans can make so much coffee grounds. Alright, let's see, what are we at? 858 is the average on that one. Next one. We are getting near the end. But in my experience, it takes about 20 tests to get through all the grounds, and it just seems crazy. But that's how much coffee ground two beans has. Okay. Next one. Ooh, we've got some geese flying overhead. Alright, so that one was 838. Last one was 858. That's pretty close. Two very similar distributions on those two tests. Actually, that'll be interesting to look at. Is the distribution similar, or is it just that the V50 is similar? So that's test number 11. And here's test number 12. You can see the whole thing is slightly lower skewed, but the actual distribution of particles is very similar. It's bimodal here and here. They're both bimodal. That's really interesting. Okay. Test number 13. Here we go. Spread that around. Spread around, spread around, spread around, spread around. Almost good. Okay. And let's capture that. Wow. 856 on that one. So we had 858, then 838, then 856. Usually they're not this close to one another because you get such a different distribution of beans from each one. Maybe my method, instead of taking a scoop like I had been doing and just using the brush to brush them out, maybe I'm getting a more even representation of what the whole sample is. I'll have to keep doing more tests. Try to figure out if maybe it's my testing procedure, because I have been trying out different distances from the lens to make sure that the accuracy remains the same, because the way that it detects size is by the size of this actual coaster. It's 104 millimeters, so it knows the exact size. And so it shouldn't matter how far away you are from the lens. However, what is going to make a difference there is the resolution that your camera is able to recognize. So the closer I get, the more those extra fine particles I bet. 960 on that one. So it is worth noting that there's going to be a lot of mega fine particles between like under 100 and all the way to like 1 micron that aren't going to be picked up by the camera because it's just too small. So technically your distribution would be skewed a little bit lower, but since those tiny microscopic particles take up so much less space, they're actually still not that significant unless there's gajillions of them, which, to be fair, there are, but maybe millions instead of gajillions. But that is why that if you're really looking to do some in-depth analysis with real scientific precision, you're going to want to go with Omni instead of the particle coaster. But if you're just looking to play around like I am here and try to like learn some stuff, the coaster is quite invaluable, especially because you can print one off. 723 on that one. 723. And we're reaching first crack. Okay, next one. We're getting close to the end here. But not quite at the end, we still got some. I can hear all them cracks. It's actually sounding a little bit like a second crack, which is really unlikely because it's only at 207 degrees. But usually the cracks on this coffee have been rather quiet. So it's interesting that I'm actually hearing it now. Okay. 788 is the average on that one. And rather than starting the next one, I'm going to keep an eye on, I want to see what the color value is at exactly at the moment that it drops. So I'm going to keep an eye on the roast for the rest of it. And then we're going to move on to our even darker roast, and we'll keep doing some more particle analysis. So we're at 215, and our color is at 64. Temperature is at 218. We're at 8 minutes and 40 seconds into the roast here. 219, 220, and then our color is at 60. Dropping fast. 222, 223, So we're approaching our final descent here into Los Angeles. We're at 56, and I imagine that we're going to get, as usual, to about 49, between 51 and 49 when we hit the end. 227 degrees, our temp color is at 53.4, 52, and here we go, ready? Boom. Our final color, 51.3. It is cracking like crazy in there. Exactly the beginning of first crack. Second crack. Okay, so I'm going to keep jiggling them around here so that it can get some airflow through and cool really fast. I'm going to get my next batch ready. Open up the bag. Now is where it's going to start getting interesting, because what my hopes of doing is the people that I'm preparing this coffee for, I want them to try. I don't know if they've had much light roast, so I've already included some very, very light roasts in the sampler that I'm giving to them, but I really want them to try ultra dark. And I want it to be just slightly too dark, so that they recognize, like, even if they like the dark roast flavor, if they want their coffee to be a little bit more bitter, they're not just going to automatically pick the dark roast, because there's going to be dark and very, very dark. So, for adjusting this profile here, I'm going to go back to profiles. I'm going to go to Kaku Dennis Hot and Fast. And I'm going to change the drop temp to, let's go with 242. That's going to be it. Update profile. We're going to go sync up here. Reload that. Okay. Now, it'll be interesting to see what color we get to for that. Are we ready, everyone? Here we go. And roast. Start. And I'm just going to wait for the bean temperature to drop below so we don't have a mistake. Good. Okay. Pull this out. Put it on my analysis coaster. Slide this guy in. And now I'm actually going to go get more containers. I will be right back, my family. I need more containers to hold our roasted coffee. So I'll be right back. Just enjoy watching that roast. Drop the beans if I'm not back fast enough. Thanks. I'll be right back. Alright, I've got 5 new containers here. We got container 1, container 2, container 3, container 4, and container 5. You know, maybe I should stand here, then I can look at the camera better. I'm going to move W1 out of the way. Remember, if you're watching this right now, go grab a W1 while it's still on the pre-sale. It's only $3.89 right now. It's going to go up to $5.19. So if you need a water activity meter, I highly recommend you buy it just right now. Get that out of the way. I'm going to get the next batch ready. 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 Being sleep. Sweet. Okay, dump the excess back in the bag. Close it up. Okay. And then I can just grab this. Dump our guy in here. Missed 3 or 4 beans. Okay. There we go. There we go. Put that back up there. Okay. Then we filled up our next. Ooh, look, there's a dent in that one. Yeah, let's see it on here. Dent. I think I should readjust the focus on this camera here and lock it so that you guys can see what's going on the screen a little better. There we go. Now it's locked. Okay, so now if I do that again and put stuff in front of it, it won't refocus. It will always be focused on here. So 242 is our final, I'm going to turn this guy off because I actually don't need it on me right now. That's okay. Let's finish what we were doing, but I'm going to go over to the other side and do it so that you guys can look at my face. Keep that upside down though because I have this flipped over for the other direction. So, here, let's finish what we were doing. There's a lot of massive particles left in here. That's interesting. Usually there's only fines left. And all the large particles come out first. But it's not what happened this time. Spread them all nice and evenly. The only problem with standing on this side, while it's better for you, it's not better for me to see what's going on the roast machine, and I can see my computer, but I can't see the numbers. So that's no good. Very soon I'm going to be going to China, and I'm going to do some live streams from there. And that'll be rather interesting because my live streaming space is going to be amazing. There we go. Okay, so 713 on that one. Alright. Let's slide this over so you can see. Dump it all out into here. Cute. Both. Okay, next one. We're going to have to keep an eye on the roast here because as we start getting closer and closer to the drop point, there's going to be a lot of smoke. And I need to make sure that the airflow is high enough. So Airwave will actually keep track of the stage's airflow. So if you increase the airflow in a specific stage, it'll remember that and do the same thing next time. And I don't usually roast this dark. So I need a I need to make sure that I have enough airflow so that I don't set the smoke alarm off. 340. Yeah, 340 on that last one. That's for these microparticles here. That's the D50. So let me sprinkle those off. I'm actually going to come around back to the other side because I like standing here better. I can be closer to you. So we're at 202, 203 almost. Spin this back around so we're on the right direction. We've only got a tiny little bit of fines left in here, so I'm going to try to get the rest of these out onto this poster for our last test. Unless if it's suddenly a huge clump comes out that I didn't realize we still had. It looks like we are mostly at the end of our 2 beam setup. Now coming out of here, so I'm just going to try to scrape around all the edges, get it all toward the bottom, around the top. Go around both sides and bring it all down towards the center column. And then I'm just going to get the last little bit under here before I start spreading it around. This is pretty good. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, there's still a little bit in there. Okay. Now carefully spread these very fine particles around. And we'll get our last test, which will be number 19. It seems to take about the same number of tests each time to get every particle in the distribution. I wish you guys could see what I can see right now. It's very cute. Okay, let's take our last test. Are we ready? So 440, so our final distribution, 806. They are larger particles. So 806 is our D50. That's actually quite interesting because when we did, if we go back to particle contest, we've got 4 here. So I've done essentially this would be a light roast, and the light roast D50 was 884. The one we just did would be kind of like a medium dark roast, more like a medium, and it was 806, so a little bit bigger. I mean, it's a little bit smaller than that. And then when we get all the way down to the like a very dark roast, 792. So it's very clear that our particles are shattering way more when they're less dense. So now I know that to be true. I learned something. It's very consistent with what I expected. Okay, so I'm going to increase the airflow here a little bit because we are getting a little bit of smoke coming out right here. I'm going to increase it to 95, but I want to make sure that the pressure stays about the same. Yeah, it's not really affecting our pressure, so we're good, because I do have it loosely connected. So we've got 3 more degrees, and then it's going to drop, and then I'm going to try to blow in here to prevent smoke from going up into the filter. Are you ready? 1 more degree, and then I'm going to press stop here. We're at 35 agtrons. Alright, are we going to get a smoke alarm? Oh, did we avoid it? I may have done it. Ah! Apparently I didn't. Alright, hold on one sec, guys. Okay. It's always annoying. I have to push that button like 6 times before it's finally like, oh, you know that there's no fire? Okay. Oh, it's still tracking? Damn it! I didn't hit end track. Damn. Man, having that auto fit feature is very necessary. Yeah, so I should have, so you can see at the end here it jumped way up because it's reading essentially now nonsense, and it kept that in the recording because I didn't stop it in time. There is an algorithm to be able to determine, it's going to go, oh wait, no that's not right, and it's going to move the drop point back to where it's expected to be. But this version of the firmware doesn't have that algorithm, and I forgot to press stop. I expected it to do it automatically, but it's not in this firmware. So that's what went on there. So let's do our next batch. Let's set off the smoke alarm again. Yeah, I think we're good. Dump it in, and let's start a new roast. And good thing I missed my, I realized the last second I shouldn't push start yet. Go. Start. Alright, we don't need this high of an airflow for this first stages now. So I'm going to bring the airflow actually back down to about 60. And I'm going to move these. Now you look at these. I think this particular bean seems to be a little bit less roasted than the rest. But everything else looks pretty consistent. That looks pretty good. I'm going to get this out of the way, and should we measure that final roast color and see how dark this really is? Something to note, I did not actually calibrate for this dark. What you should be doing is calibrating to the darkest roast, so that, because you get like the beginning and the end. If I calibrate to like this point here, these two, and then I roast all the way to here, this part, the machine doesn't have data, so it's just going to try to guess. And so the color is not that significantly different, so it should still be quite reasonably accurate, but there is going to be a little bit more slop around the edges there where we don't have data. So I should have calibrated it like that, but since I didn't, let's just see what happens. So you can see how oily it's starting to get there, but actually it's not that oily. It'll probably get oilier as it cools and over time. I'm curious to see. Makes me want to run it a little bit darker, but actually this is probably better for my experiment because I do want it to be delicious regardless. I don't want them to be like, oh, the 3 of those were pretty good, but the last one was awful. I want it to be like all of them are drinkable, so that if really, really, really dark roast is what they like, it's still going to taste good for them. So, let's bust that on me. Okay. Test. Where are we at? We are at 37.8. 37.8. I believe it said about that when it was dropped. I missed it. I didn't see what it said last time. I'm going to keep an eye on it this time. 37.8. And then I'm going to get one more sample. I'm going to mix these up because obviously not every bean is going to be exactly the same. So I want to see what my range is. Pretty soon we're going to have the new color analyzer tool in Coffee OS, so it's going to be really nice for doing this because then I can just take multiples and it will average them all for me and show me the whole distribution, not just one sample at a time. So actually, yeah, 33% of this roast is darker than 37, but some of it is still way up here in the 60 to 70, so it's like what's just below the surface from the near infrared. So let's try this again. 37.4. Okay. Man, that's pretty similar. What was I saying last time? 37.4, and the time before that was 37.8. So yeah. Pretty consistent. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab a few beans here, and I'll be right back because I need to grind them, and I'll come back so we can do the ground sample. Hi guys! I just realized if I'm going to do that, I need this container here. So I'm here to grab the container. I'll be right back again. Wow, this smells awesome. Dark roasted beans have such a nice, delightful aroma. Look at that. Very dark. Alright, let's see what our inside is. I'm going to write down the outside in my journal here. So, what did I say it was? 37.4, so I'm just going to say 38. And the inside is, I've been realizing how absolutely invaluable it is to be able to test coffee color like this, because I've never done it via I don't have the intuition that most roasters obviously have from doing it for a long time. But I feel like it's really helping me quickly build up the intuition because I can recognize and associate the color value. So it's causing me to learn quickly. 38.6. So basically the same as same in and out. So let's say 36, 38.6. Let's say 39. That's pretty awesome. 38 in, 39 out, so it's pretty damn the same all the way through. Look at the difference in these colors. That's fine. Alright, where are we at? 90. I'm curious to drop it now because I want to try a 90, but I'll do that later on my own. But having it, this algorithm is working really well now. It's actually dropping quite quickly. 84 now. So let me clear this off. I don't need Omni anymore. I've actually got a D-Fluid meeting in about 18 minutes. So I'm going to have to conclude the live stream probably at the end of this roast after I set off the fire alarm one more time. So I apologize for that, but yeah. I've been having fun with you guys. I'm going to be publishing the results of my experimentento. I highly recommend that if you see this before Christmas, go to the D-Fluid website and either buy yourself one of these particle analysis coasters, or on the product page you can find the link to print one off for yourself. It's totally free. Coffee OS is also totally free, and we just really want you to participate in our competition. So you might be able to win yourself an Omni roast color particle analysis meter. The particle analysis base makes particle analysis much quicker and easier, and it connects very seamlessly with Coffee OS. And you're allowed to use Omni in the competition if you want to participate. The contest is not about what equipment you use, it's about what you show us, what effort you put in to teach us something new in particle analysis. So we're at 214 degrees. Also, if you need water activity, If you need to test water activity and you don't want to buy an Omics because it's really expensive, you have, well, an Omics Plus, because we don't actually make Omics Basic anymore, but we do have 8 of them left if you want to go to the D-Fluid website. If you need to test all your green coffee or anything pre-roast, all the way through the cherries, dried cherries, parchment coffee, green coffee, if you need to test all of that stuff for moisture content, water activity, screen size, the works, you can get an Omics Basic on the D-Fluid website until we run out. And then those are not being made anymore. And then you have to get Omics Plus, which is a little more expensive, but you get the roast color features, which I guess are also invaluable, but if you already have a roast color meter like Omni or another one, you don't need that. So, there's that, but then also, if you just need water activity, say you already have Cough Meter M1, and you can already test moisture content, or you have another device that you can already use to test moisture content, you don't need to test screen size and all that, you just need something to be able to test water activity, highly recommend you go to the website right now before the 16th and get a Cough Meter W1. They are currently on pre-sale price for $389, and they're going to be going up to $519, so I highly recommend you get it as fast as you can. We are definitely at second crack, and I'm going to mark it here. We have smoke coming out. I'm going to bring this up to 100. Oh crap, we don't have a basket in there. That could have been really bad. Alright, we're pulling all of the smoke back through, so we are good on that. Second crack is marked. I'm going to make sure to stop this roast on time this time. We're at 136. Getting close. We have 2 degrees to go. And drop. Alright, plug our ears, just in case the smoke alarm goes off. I think we're okay. Wait, what? I pressed N! That time's a little annoying. I didn't get to see what the result was. But if you were watching, you probably did. The button that says push to hush never works. It's always really annoying. Okay. I apologize. I did not get to see what that final roast color was because I missed pushing the button. I thought I had it. I did not, apparently. I was more concerned about the smoke. So I missed that, but I imagine that you guys probably saw. And if not, you can just go back and look at it. Because this is being recorded. But yeah, I've got a meeting that I've got to attend, so I'm going to have to end the stream. I hope you had fun watching if you were here. And if you were not here, I hope you watched the past broadcasts, and I will leave some comments and ask some questions and suggest things that we should do in future videos, because these streams are going to keep getting more intense and more crazy with more camera angles and more fun, especially as I get better at roasting. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. And I will see you next time. Love you all. Goodbye.